Good morning, boys and girls. Today we are going to be working on the next lesson of Chapter 7. I know you're going to do just fine because you've been doing so well the last 2 days. All right, so we're going to look at the first example, 2%. And we are going to change 2% into a decimal. We learned about changing them into fractions, right? Percent is per 100, so that would be 2 over 100. Well, to change it into a decimal, we can think of that as 2 divided by 100, right? Because we know a fraction bar is division. So if I'm dividing 2 by 100, really what I can do is move my decimal point 2 times to the left. When I divide by 100, I'm moving the decimal point 2 times to the left. Well, you might be saying, but Miss Moore, there is no decimal. Well, we know that that invisible decimal in any whole number is to the right of the ones place. So if I place my decimal point there, I can now move it 2 times to the left to divide by that 100. So I go 1, 2, right? The problem is that when I place it here, I have this empty jump. In that empty jump, I'm sure some of you are remembering what goes there. What placeholder can I use that won't change the value of my number? 0. Right? This decimal, though, is not my final answer. I want my final answer to never leave that decimal point lonely. So in the ones place, I am going to put another placeholder, another 0. And 0 and 2/100 is going to be my final answer. All right, moving on to the next one. I have 0 and 7/10 here, right? Now I have the decimal, but now I want to change it to percent. So I'm doing the opposite of what I just did. So let's think. In the other one, I divided by 100. So now instead, I'm going to multiply by 100. And when I multiply this by 100, it's going to move that decimal point to the right 2 times. Now we're going to go the opposite. We're going to move to the right. 1, 2. And here it is again, that placeholder. I got to enter my 0 here. Now, this 0 in the front isn't necessary anymore. And my decimal point isn't really necessary either because it's at the end of my number. So my answer is 70, and I got to add my percent symbol back, 70%. And I can think about what we learned, or things we've already learned. 7/10 is 7/10 as a fraction. And if I want to, I could multiply this by 10 by adding a 0 in the numerator, adding a 0 in the denominator. And now look at that. I have 70 over 100, and percent is per 100, right? So 70%. All right. And our last example, and you'll see in your notes, changing a fraction to a percent is going to require 2 steps. You are first going to have to change your fraction into a decimal. So you're going to take your numerator divided by your denominator, and you're going to type that into a calculator. So 1 divided by 250. You're going to think, I'm going to get a really small number because that's a really small fraction. And I'm going to get 0 and 4/1000. Right? That's step 1. Right? Make it a decimal. Now, step 2 is going to turn it into a percent. Well, if I look right here at this example, I took a decimal and turned it into percent. I multiplied it by 100, or I moved the decimal point 2 times to the right. So 1, 2. It ends up here in front of the 4. So that gives me, right, I don't need all these zeros in front of the decimal. I just need 1 so that it's not lonely. 0 and 4/10. And remember, I'm making it a percent, so I need to include my percent symbol. So this would be step 2, and that would be my final step. All right, I think you are going to do just fine today. Good luck.